Hello and welcome to the More Cheese Less Whiskers podcast. My name is Dean Jackson, and today we're talking with Jeremy Salem from right here in Florida, up in Jacksonville, close to me. Jeremy owns an agency that helps business owners with e-commerce businesses to improve both their capabilities and the marketing of their businesses. And we had a great conversation about the distinction between those two, about the distinction between, being a service provider to someone or being a capability provider, and the possibility of thinking about delivering a result for people, which is always the next level of what you could provide for people. So it was a really fun conversation. I think you're going to enjoy this episode. Here we go. Jeremy Salem.
Yes. Hey, Dean.
There he is. How are you?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I am fantastic. Quarantine week 9 coming to a close.
Yeah.
Where are you?
Well, I'm in Florida, Jacksonville, Florida.
Oh, you are? Me too. I'm in Winter Haven.
Oh, yeah. I used to come to Winter Haven very often when I was younger, when the Cleveland Indians had their spring training home there before they moved to Arizona.
Right. Yeah.
So
everybody moved to Arizona. Huh?
Yeah. We're big Indians fans, so we would come every year, and then of course they moved, which sucked. But yeah, so very familiar. Not the last 10, 15 years, but familiar with the area.
That's funny. Well, welcome. Super excited that you're here. I'm looking forward to hatching some evil schemes with you here. So tell me the whole story and what we're going to focus on today.
Yeah, so we've been in business for coming up shortly on 10 years, and we do some different things. Started out doing some agency stuff, but our main program right now, our flagship program, is we work with business professionals who are starting or growing their online stores.
Okay.
And so I filled out the profit scorecard, and always looking for ideas on growth. Always enjoy, your content, things like that. Quick question, Dean.
Yes.
We're on the actual. This is actually the call, correct?
This is it. We got a whole hour here for us. Yeah.
Cool. Just making sure. Yeah. So. We've been running this specific program for about 5 years. We've got a team of coaches from the tech side to the ad side to the product selection side, helping connect with suppliers. That's the main focus and what I wanted to discuss on today's call.
Okay. So when you did your Profit Activator scorecard, when you went through, what was the insight that you had from that? What was the thing that stood out as where you shine and where your opportunity is?
I think single target market, it's tough in the sense of, we say business professionals. We do know we have, there's people that we tend to work better with, but ideally they're people that they either have a store that they need help growing, or they're in the process of, many times there's somebody who's working a corporate job and they've been trying to do this on the side and transition. So we focus on that versus, I don't know. We don't go after the whole internet. We're not going after the beginner that says, what's this about? And we have to explain, e-commerce to them, right? So I think we're pretty good there. Compelling. We do some unique stuff by using, we don't use like automated webinars or anything. We use blog posts that have really great content that really bring people into our world and get them to schedule a consultation. Motivating, educating, feeling pretty good. Irresistible offers. I definitely am intrigued to hear your ideas there.
Okay.
And after sales service, we've gotten better on. We recently launched a higher tier for people that are already doing well. They're doing somewhere in the high 4 to 5 figure a month range and looking to scale. We can offer a higher level of support that would involve things beyond, when you're starting out, things are more geared towards outsourcing systems, expanding which ad platforms they're using, things like that. And that kind of goes into the lifetime relationships. And then referrals, we get referrals here and there, but we don't have a system to where we're consistently getting referrals.
Not an orchestrated system. Right. And that's, what you're very, it's very similar to what a lot of people find. Everybody sort of struggles with selecting a single target market. That's kind of the first thing, especially when you can help so many people, right? You make up terms like business professionals because that is one single thing that can encompass so many people technically, right? That a lot of people fit under that. And, but one of the clues, like one of the things that I always have people start with when you're starting to explore who the target audience is to think, I ask a clarifying question is what I call it, of what would you do if you only got paid if your client gets the results? What would that look like for you? Who would, what can you do that you would feel so confident in? And I say that just to have a discussion about it. I'm not saying that you need to switch your offer to only getting paid on results or performance, but I'm asking it as a guiding discussion that if you were to only get paid on the results, what would be the thing that you're that confident about that that you could do?
It's a great question. I've seen your content on that. I would say, so for example, we have some people who come in, and I just in particular want somebody who came in yesterday, and they're like, I've been paying for a Shopify subscription for several months. I am driving myself crazy with the tech side, getting the store up, the right apps. So they couldn't even get to the point where they're actually running a functional store and running ads and making sales. So for me, that answer to that question would be, the result would be, there's probably a high percentage of people that, get sucked into courses and stuff, but they actually never make a single sale with an online store. So just getting a store up and making a sale would be the only pay for that result, because we do so much one-to-one implementation with each of our clients that's an easy win for us. Yeah. But not everybody falls into that category. Some already have sales.
I got it. So are you, because there's two different things, right? There's the technical ability to make sales online and the actual, the psychology, the marketing and the sales of driving sales online. And they're two different things, right? Is your primary focus on the technical capability of making sales online, or the psychological ability to drive sales online?
Can you quickly explain the difference to me again?
Okay, so the technical capability is that you've got your e-commerce site up, you've got your credit card processing, you've got the website, you've got the buy buttons, you've got the coding right, you've got all of the infrastructure set up that you can make sales online. You have the capability to make a sale online. If somebody came and pushed the buy button, everything technically works. You can accept credit cards, show what you have for sale, just put up the shopping cart, do all of that stuff technically. That's one side of it. But then the other side of it is the ability to actually attract someone to your store to buy what it is that you're selling. That's two separate things, right? Do you see the difference in
Absolutely.
that?
Yep, and that clarifies it. Yeah, so actually, Dean, through our service and through our program, we actually do both. So
Yeah.
for somebody who comes in and they're newer, even if they have a store, they're going to hop on a call with one of our members of our tech team for about 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and we're going to completely revamp and optimize their store for conversions. And then we're also going to help them with the advertising piece on what is, ad copy, targeting, getting people to actually click and buy.
Yeah. And so that's, I think that probably the number one thing that blocks people from making beyond their first sale in terms of the capability to make that sale is the ongoing marketing and, way of driving sales to their e-commerce site, driving buyers to their e-commerce site. So getting somebody up and functional is a big win. Now, do you teach people how to do that, or do you, as a black box, service, do that for them? And by black box, I mean you just set it up in the background and then, ta-da, here you go. It's all done for you.
More towards that option, yeah. So they're going to get on in our flagship program. They're going to get on a call with a coach, a tech on our team, and we're going to basically spend about 2.5 hours setting up the whole store with them and for them.
Okay, and that that process, when you look at this, do you charge for that?
It's included as part of the service, the program, not separate.
Right. Okay. And so tell me what you charge for now and how you kind of work with people. What is your service offerings? Do you have a lot of different ways, or do you have one program, or how do you work with people now?
Yeah, and as you know, in the online world and with entrepreneurship, it's always kind of adapting, so there may be something different. But at the time, as of right now, specific to online stores, e-commerce, we have more of a starter program, which is more based around print on demand. That's a lower tier, generally in the $1,500 range. We have our flagship, which is the intensive, the one-on-one and things like that. And we play around with that, but we have incentives and different pay options and things like that. But let's just say it's in the 6,000 range. Let's pick a happy medium. And then we have a higher tier, more of like a mastermind that we've recently introduced, like an enterprise level. That's going to be, in your mastermind range, closer to 25K and above. But the main is the middle. That's been the main focus for the last, 5 years or so.
About the $6,000 range is what you said.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. And what do I get for the 6,000?
Yeah. So you come in. We've again adapted, expanded things. But yeah. So basically, for 8 weeks, we have what we call our implementation phase. So Dean, you come in. You're like, hey, I have a store. Or I'm starting a store, and we're going to do your kickoff call. We're going to get you, basically hand you, how we find products and suppliers. Most people are going to start out, some people have their own products, but most are going to start out more of a drop shipping model. And then the goal is you get a product selling well, and then you get into more of the wholesale or private labeling. And so you're going to get on you're going to go through some action items, and you're going to get on what we call a store setup and optimization call, where again, if your store is starting from scratch, we're going to set it up, or if you already have one, we're going to kind of quote unquote tear it apart, optimize it. From there, we're going to send you to one of our ad experts. You're going to get on an ad setup call, set up ads for an initial product or two, so you can see how we do it, how we look at data, how we set up the copy, the images, all that. We get your ad live. And then about a week later. So the idea is
you're showing them how to do it, how to do the ads, right?
Yeah, doing it actually, screen share with them as well.
Yeah,
and then
but the idea
a week later
they're watching over your shoulder. They're doing their learning how to do it for themselves, essentially, is what.
100%. Yeah, we've got content like a members area as well, but those one-to-one calls are invaluable. And then from there, they'll do a couple what we call ad review calls, where basically we'll get on and we'll help them read the data. Say, okay, well, you're getting add to carts here, but they're not buying. Let's look at maybe some different shipping options, pricing. And then from there, we provide an additional, after those 8 weeks, additional 10 months of group support, where each month we're covering different themes. We have more content around outsourcing, around automating some things. Some people will then go into our, the goal is to get into a higher tier, people that are doing really well. For others, they're supported with group calls, group training, group support. And that's pretty much how the program is structured. We've got content from start to finish.
And then they're done in 1 year. Then that's it.
Exactly. If they don't upgrade or anything like that. Some will come back and things like that. Some will upgrade. But yes, for 12 months.
Okay. Awesome. And right now, what's your best way of finding people to go through this?
Yeah, so that's where I love marketing but we have a lot of e-commerce. We that's kind of what our main program is. But prior, I was kind of the Facebook ads guy. Got kind of big, and that's where I kind of built my following. Got a lot of big marketers who found me and I consulted with, and anyways, I got into and then it kind of went to, we do other stuff besides e-commerce, but basically for this, what we do is it's unique. I've never really liked, not that there's anything wrong with it, the automated webinar model. I don't know. It just, for me, for me. So what we mainly do, I've done some different things, is I have what I call an epic blog post. I've also called it a bloginar. Basically, we run ads to about 7,500 word piece of content. And it's pretty much a webinar in a blog post. It's basically gives away the farm. It's who this is. And then within that post, we have calls to action of basically, hey, if you want to explore our one-to-one done with you service program, click here. They go to a page that talks more about our program, and then they schedule a consultation, and we run ads to that content. And of course, we do some, retargeting and fun stuff like that, giving away more content. And we also build our email list through some different lead magnets, and I enjoy writing, so I'll email my list pretty frequently, usually 5 to 6 days a week. And all that combines to kind of bring people into our world and keep our calendars pretty full.
Oh, that's awesome. And what's the result that people end up getting? Like when you take people through, this course, how do you measure their success?
Sure. Yeah. So what we like to tell people is, at minimum, and because I'm the anti-hype guy, but at minimum, it's like what we want to do with these. We want to build the foundation of a successful online store. A store up, running, and making sales is our minimum goal, right? And then from there, it can go a variety of directions. But what we looked at, which was really cool, Dean, is we looked at that. The majority of people, if you look at courses, a very small percentage actually, get in and actually achieve any type of measurable result. Maybe they watch the content and they're impressed with the information. With us, when we look at it, virtually 100% of people that come in and actually, as long as they don't ghost us, they actually get on their coaching calls and all that. I mean, pretty much 100% are going to have a store that's at least making a sale, sales. And from there,
they've got that's what I mean. They've got the capability to make the sale. That's one thing, that the store is ready. Yeah.
And actually, inspired by you and a couple others, we did something kind of fun a while back. We don't promote it as much, where we called it the 21-day guarantee. And it was like, hey, look, if you've never made a sale and you're kind of sick of all the courses and the hype type thing, we guarantee if we work with you, within 21 days of flipping your first advertising campaign on, you'll have a store that brings in sales, or we'll refund your ad spend, and we'll send you $1,000 for wasting your time. And of course, they got to come in and attend their coaching calls, and that's an easy win for us, and that attracted a lot of attention at the time.
And they've got to pay you up front, sounds like.
Yep, they would pay up front.
Yeah, right. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
So, but I've always been intrigued by, I've listened to a lot of your content on, irresistible offers and just unique ways to bring people into our world, different than what we're doing, or maybe different structures, the pay result type thing without, so that stuff I'm always open to hearing more about, but that is how we currently, fill our program and stuff. And that's the result that at the minimum, that foundation built.
So I often wonder, why, I often wonder what it is about why people do what they do, right? Like if I'm thinking about a guy like you and your team and your knowledge, and I think about why would you choose to find people to show how to do this and, get them excited about selling online products versus creating, something like Wayfair.com, where, the thing that's most inspiring about Wayfair is, do you know much about the Wayfair story, about how they started?
Beyond knowing that they started and they do, primarily with a drop shipping model,
goods.
I don't know beyond that. Oh, okay.
So
go ahead.
They sell home goods, like all things for the house. But they started out before they were Wayfair.com. They started out and they built 270 individual e-commerce brands that were all single target markets, right? I use them as a great example of select a single target market. For instance, the first site that they did was something called allbarstools.com. And every single thing that they sold was bar stools. So they built out an e-commerce site that was, found all the bar stools that are available to drop ship or to do, to sell online. And then they started optimizing all of their traffic and, promoting that site to make it the most profitable bar stool selling site on the internet. And then they moved on to grandfather clocks, everygrandfatherclock.com. And it was all about grandfather clocks. And then they went through all of these categories, speaker racks and ottomans, and every individual attribute, every category that you can imagine, all with its own individual brand, completely optimized to dominate that market. And then once they had 270 of them, then they got venture funding, bundled them all up, and came out as Wayfair.com. This amalgamated, e-commerce juggernaut with this huge footprint because they'd already built out all the SEO and footprint for all of the individual brands, right? So I wonder about when you've got a technical capability like that, and there's no real need to involve other people in that, what's your motivation for doing that route as opposed to doing it?
Sure. Well, the shorter answer is we do both. We do some unique things ourselves, but also when I built a following in the Facebook ads world, e-commerce was getting really hot, print on demand and Shopify and we taught marketing concepts as a whole, but basically, I always joke because that's a common question. I like it is, I'm never going to be one of these people that, says, oh man, it's about giving back to the world. It's a service we provide. It's a need. People are out there doing this and they want support, and we can provide support, and it's a revenue stream to our business. And that's what I tell people. I'm like, I'm not going to, BS you into this as some, giving back or, it's all about, and to me, and I used to, when I was young, and you're in Winter Haven, so it's, Tiger Woods, I think he lives close there. When I was young, like a teenager, I never understood why Tiger Woods had a golf coach. I think it was it Butch Harmon?
Yeah.
And I remember I used to tell my dad, I'm like, why does Tiger Woods have somebody coaching him? Like, he's the best,
Right,
and,
right.
It didn't make sense to me. I'm like, if this guy's so good enough to coach Tiger, why isn't he winning the Masters?
Right.
So, and that's kind of what I tell people, sometimes is, a service and that we provide. And the motivation is it's a business to us. We enjoy it.
Yeah.
We love seeing people succeed, and we also, do our own stuff as well in and outside of e-commerce. So I'm very upfront about that.
Yeah. And I get it. I mean, and there is a distinction between Butch Harmon teaching Tiger Woods. That Tiger Woods and any top professional is a unique talent, right? That the coach can't do. Butch Harmon can't do what Tiger Woods can do, but he can certainly show him and advise him, right?
Sure.
Yeah. So it's an interesting thing. But when you start looking at the outcomes that people get as a result of going through your program, what kind of outcomes are they getting in terms of how big are the stores that they're building? How are they measuring that this $6,000 that I gave you, or this $1,000 or $1,500 that I gave you, was a good investment? How are they measuring that?
Yeah, and it's interesting. So for some people, it's pretty amazing because let me climb this call. For some people, it's pretty amazing because their breakthrough is, when we talked about the tech side, is actually getting a functional store up. They'll post some post about, wow, been trying to actually get a store up and running with a customer for 18 months and a 2.5 hour call, and here I am. That's a breakthrough for them, right?
Yeah.
And then for others, if they already have success, like currently, think of one example, a entrepreneur, a female we're working with in Australia. She has her own product, so she's been kind of stuck around the $5,000 a month mark with her store, and in about 45 days, she's now about to hit a $25,000 a month, just because she needed some insight on ads and basically, how to scale and retargeting. And to her, that's a huge win. Like, she doesn't care about getting a store up. She has a store. And then for others, they go on and they've built, multiple 7-figure stores, and they get into private labeling and the branding and all that stuff. And then for others, a year later, they may be focused on something else. I was actually talking to a girl who went through our program, and now she runs ads for e-commerce stores.
Right.
She likes the advertising side. So
right. That's what they do. Figure out the thing you really like. I think
the breakthrough is different, I think, for each person as far as what they consider success. I think ideally the people, when they initially come in, they want to grow a successful store that, gives them the freedom they want, the passion they want, whatever it is. And then what those breakthroughs are, what the milestones are along the way, I think kind of vary per person.
Yeah, it's really, I look at it that the mechanics are going to be the same no matter what physical good people are selling online, right? Like you're talking about the actual stuff. I mean, the website showing the pictures and what it's the technical requirements of it, right, are going to be largely the same. And it's that insight of picking the right thing. Like it makes it's one of these things where I really believe that e-commerce is certainly one of the areas where ideas are more valuable than execution. And what I mean by that is, I don't know whether you've heard me talk about this idea, but often people say, in the argument of ideas versus execution, that execution is the most important thing because ideas that aren't executed are worthless, right? There's no value to them. So execution is the winner. And you have to point out that you can't execute nothing. So you have to say that whenever you're executing, you are executing an idea, right? They're inseparable. You can't execute nothing. So you're executing an idea. So they always go together. Now, if you're executing something, you can also flawlessly execute something, right? Without any hiccups. You're executing at the highest level what the technical, delivery of something is. And the only thing that improves flawless execution is executing a better idea, right? Like that, the difference between one product or another product online is that the best idea, the better idea for a product, an idea means something that's desirable that somebody wants. It's a better idea to sell, Zoom.com right now than it is to sell airline tickets. That's really just a sign of what the right thing to sell right now is, right? Even if you had the same flawless execution of both, that you could buy these things together. So I wonder where, how much of what you do is involved in discerning and helping people, pick a better idea. First of all, have you seen that to be true in the things that you've, like, what would be the difference between somebody who goes through the same program doing $25,000 a month versus someone who's struggling to do $2,500 a month? What's the difference if they're running on the same platform?
Yeah. So I always talk about this in our community. What's strange, Dean, is you could have a store and a product. I could have same store, same product. We could set up the same ad, same image, same targeting with Facebook, and because of the variance of an ad platform, you could see 10 sales come in the first day or two, and I could see like 5 added carts and no sales, and now you're on your way to basically expanding on that success. Whereas I'm like, well, if this product's a dud, and I'm moving on. That's one aspect of it. Beyond the obvious things like, the implementation of, okay, are people actually going through and testing a variety of products and assessing the data right and things like that, the things we help them with, and doing it on their own as well. But beyond that, it's just capitalizing when something is doing well. I think of a story of a couple we worked with probably a couple years ago, and they actually had a product selling well that was profitable, but they didn't know it because they didn't know how to read their ad data properly. And a member of our team pointed it out to them, and that actually became the backbone of a 7-figure store. Once they realized, they expanded on that, started setting up new ad campaigns, and I wonder, how many how many of those are out there not working with us, just in general, people that there's these little nuances about how to read ad data and things like that they don't even realize.
Yeah. Right.
That's the difference in the execution. But overall, like I said, besides the obvious of the implementation and the speed of it and the persistence and things like that, I would definitely say some of the variants and ad platforms and just how people approach the business, the people that approach it with more focus. And I have one client I was talking to yesterday. I don't want to give her idea of her product and what she's selling very well. She had kind of a passion that she went into, and she created a whole brand and product around that, and it's taken off. And I think there's something to that with executing on something she was passionate about. So, and any ideas you have in that area, why you think that may be the case, would be helpful too, because, it is unique how you go through a process, and yes, there's the human element of variability, but that's but fundamentally, beyond that, it'd be good to know.
Yeah, fundamentally, you were just describing like the very beginning of something, but I think that even if something started out quick and somebody had add to carts and didn't get the thing, that over a 100 sales or 100 iteration, it's going to stable out, right? That you'll see the same result. So that kind of misinterpreting initial data is an issue, just like you were describing, right? If somebody has the same things on it, misinterpreting that's a problem with the product as opposed to giving it that chance. What I'm curious about, like, I look at the way I'm looking at everything is through an opportunity kind of filter that I've been really fascinated by this whole migration that we're making to Cloudlandia, which this whole e-commerce, outperforming, everything, that's really where we're going, everything online. Now, when you start to look at things like all the components of it, what I've come up with this, like the three things that it's all a factor of, and I've been calling it the VCR formula. And VCR is for vision, capabilities, and reach. And that all three of those are important elements of this, right? You got to have a vision for what it is you're going to do. That's the idea, sort of thing. The capabilities are all of the technical things, all the things that you are masterful at, the things that you can help somebody get straightened to get set up. And then reach is the ability to get that opportunity in front of the right people, right? The opportunity to buy whatever it is you're selling at the e-commerce site. So I look at it's the formula that made Kylie Jenner a billionaire, right? And the interesting thing about it is that she doesn't have any of the capabilities to be an e-commerce, billionaire, which she is, but she had the vision that she wants to create lip kits and she wants to create a cosmetic line, and she has the reach in that she's got 150 million people on social media that all she needs to do is tell them, hey, buy my lip kit. And as long as she has the capability to make that happen, she has all the pieces in place, right? So rather than her learning how to do all of this stuff in the capabilities department, she partners with Shopify for all the e-commerce stuff. She partners with Seed Labs to make and distribute and package and customer service all of the clients that she sells to. And her mom's company does all the business administration of it. So all she has to do is spend her time on the vision side, coming up with the ideas, the colors, the names of the colors, the style, making decisions on what her vision is for this. And then on the reach side, letting people know that it's out there and promoting it. And all that capability stuff is done by her partners, And so when I look at people like you who have incredible capabilities on there, my immediate thought is, what would be, if you think about selecting a single target audience, what would be the best opportunity for you is to find Kylie Jenners, to find somebody who's got tremendous reach and start to look at what could we do to help that person. Do they have a vision for doing something? Would they like to sell something online? You start to see it, that you see that the whole Kardashian clan is that way. I mean, Kim Kardashian sells her KKW cosmetics. That the even Kanye with his Yeezy deal, he's got the vision and the reach, but Adidas had the capability for it, to make all of the stuff and to distribute it and to get it into stores and all of the, technical capability side of things. There's all of that stuff is in this new world commoditized. And I mean that not in a demeaning way, but in a way that it's already figured out, that it's commoditized and, in the just basest sense of the word, available for sale. Right? When you look at all of the software as a service or as a service things that are available to everybody, now there's not a single marketing problem or technical thing that's not available to buy as a solution, right? Like I started in 1998 when I did my first ebook online. It was difficult to get a merchant account to sell stuff online. It was difficult to get those things, right? It wasn't even a norm. So you had to go through a service that had a credit card merchant account, and they would charge you a fee for all of the sales, and they'd keep a reserve and all that stuff. But now anybody can get a Square account, right? Or get a merchant account to sell stuff. That's a no-brainer. Even building a website was a problem in 1998. You had to have special software. You had to have your own, hosting and all that stuff. Now anybody can go to Wix or Squarespace or, even Shopify, which you're doing an e-commerce site, is exactly all of that as a service stuff, right? There's no real enduring future in the technical skills arena, where the real money and opportunity is in the idea of what to put through that engine,
Yeah, so let me run this by you then, because what you said about going after the Kylie Jenner, obviously, on that level. So one client we recently started working with it's unique in the sense that they started out with information products, and then they expanded to a physical product line off of the the audience that they built, the customer base that they built on the. So would you say that would kind of be along the same lines of a target market, what you're saying, but going after the information marketer and helping them create a physical product line?
That's great. Like, I mean, you look at, let's say Michael Hyatt as an example of a guy who's done, lots of online products, and now he comes out with a planner that now he's got a e-commerce, planner that is a real popular seller. There's an example of something, right? Who else, like when you look at who else has things like that, where they've got an audience and then they've created things that are physical that people can buy. So certainly that's one thing. I mean, you look at all these YouTubers that end up creating merch, right? That's part of the monetizing playbook of a vlogger or anybody who's building an audience that, check out our merch. And they've got T-shirts and hoodies and bags and, mugs and all the stuff that become physical, that people can buy.
There's also, Dean, one market that we've had success in is we have, and I'll run two of them by you. You can tell me how they compare to what you're saying. One is Amazon sellers who want to expand off of, a third-party platform to their own store to diversify. That's one. And then two are Etsy sellers who want to expand their reach through an online store and, social media advertising.
Yeah. And so you look at that Etsy sellers, people who are creatives that have created or invented or made a product, a unique thing in the world that they've got the vision or they create the product or whatever the thing is. And then what they don't have is the capability to get that from their, and I would put inventors in that same vein. It's the infomercial model. If you go back, like look at, I'm using Kevin Harrington as an example. He's a friend I play golf with, but he lives here in Florida, the guy that invented the infomercial, basically. And how he invented it was he was watching TV one night, and this is when cable was just getting started, right? Before cable, we had, there were only 13 channels, and then cable started coming on, and there's all these channels. And the Discovery Channel had come on, and they, it was 1:00 in the morning, and Kevin's flipping through the channels, and he realized there's nothing on the Discovery Channel. They were just showing a test pattern, and he called up and found out, we stopped broadcasting at 1:00 or midnight. Nobody, there's no, we don't program content after midnight. And he started thinking, that's, they've got the channel there. They've got the, what you would consider to be excess capacity, right? They don't have enough content to put on for the whole thing. So he started asking them, can I put, because he'd already been thinking, he'd seen, he sold physical products, but they were through people selling them at fairs and home shows and stuff, doing all the demonstrations. So he had the guy with the Ginsu knives and started realizing if I could get that guy in front of more people, right, the reach of this, that I bet we could sell knives. So he got them to agree to let him buy some time on the network and started showing after they already finished with their broadcast day, 30-minute infomercial shows. That was the beginning of it for the Ginsu knife. And it started selling all of these things, because it turns out there's a lot of people who still watch TV at 1:00 in the morning, and
that became the beginning of it. And he started buying up all this inventory and turned that into a business and formed the whole as seen on TV industry. But that's a thing of having a vision for something, seeing a capability that was, had excess capacity available to it, and seeing that as a reach vehicle and putting those three together. So now that you've got the capabilities for stuff, it's really what's going to make the biggest difference is looking for people with a vision with no reach or capabilities.
So instead of, we help business professionals grow online stores, I know, and I love this, how you always say, picking a single target market doesn't mean that's the only market, but
no,
instead we help Etsy sellers expand by creating their own online stores and using the power of social media advertising. We help Amazon sellers get off, not be so reliant on a third-party platform and expand into their own online store. We help influencers create their own product line. That's along the lines of what you think would be better.
But you look at it, that I think that the biggest shift that is like the rocket fuel in your growth is the moment that you decide that you're going to do the selecting, not positioning yourself so you are selected. I'm saying you seek out Etsy sellers who have something that you see a vision that they have got something that if you had the ability, if they had your ability to put that online, to put it through your programs, to do all of these things, that they would, that would be able to be a big business. You're becoming, it's almost like you become a venture collaborist, is a term that I've been using. If you start taking your capabilities and you look for the best opportunities to invest your capabilities as an equity participant in the outcome. And maybe you don't do it all the time, but maybe you do it with 20% of your time to start with. That 20% of the things that you're doing are allocated to you taking the risk of selecting the right product, something that you, in all of the exposure that you've had, all the knowledge that you have, all the experience that you have, that you're picking and seeking out the best, people with a vision, inventors, creators, all of those things, and bringing them through your capability engine to the world. And reach can be bought, by the way. That's part of the thing, that you can buy reach through Facebook ads. But if you can find somebody who's already got the reach, and you can partner with them to bring their vision into your capability engine so that you make and put everything, or facilitate for them the getting into the physical products business, that's a huge win for you, But I don't know whether that's mogul thinking, That's kind of the thing where is if that's in your world kind of thing, that's where you get the opportunity to think like an investor, and build something that you can exit from in a way. It's harder to exit from a service business like.
Yeah, and that's actually something I've explored, but not what you're saying. We've explored, okay, students who we work with, clients we work with, their stores take off and basically, okay, I want to be a partner. But so then I want to ask you these last two questions. I know we're up against it. Number one, so for that, in that sense, with your idea, would the irresistible offer be, we're going to basically do all this for you at no cost, and all I'm going to do is take a percentage of what we generate?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the thing. That's a, that would be an irresistible offer, wouldn't it?
Yeah, because there's no upfront. I mean, it's all whatever you make me, you're only getting paid from that.
Yeah. But I would frame it in a way that, listen, we're going to pay you a royalty. Not that we're not going to charge you, not that they're the major thing in this, but you start to think about what's the maximum, right? That you're looking at it, that you're going to, it's the fundamental part of the business, and all they have to do is just keep being them, So you either find somebody who's got the reach, meaning they're an influencer, or they've got an audience, or they've got subscribers, or they're a publication, or they've got distribution. You start to look at things like that when you put on your VCR goggles here, and you're looking for, through that lens of vision and capabilities and reach, and you're hunting for those things all the time. I just discovered this. There's on Grubhub here in Winter Haven. This just happened last week. I found there's one of the options is a store called the Ice Cream Shop, and I realized there's nothing called the Ice Cream Shop in Winter Haven, right? Because Winter Haven's a pretty small town. I would know if there was like a physical location like that. And but all they were selling was Ben and Jerry's pints of ice cream, right, delivered through Grubhub. And so I started just looking into it, right, because I knew about ghost restaurants. Have you heard that term? Or cloud kitchens, where they only exist on Grubhub and Seamless, where they don't have a dining room. There's a whole thing now, a whole industry around it. Travis Kalanick is like all in on this idea where these restaurants only exist on Grubhub for delivery. They're not, or Uber Eats. You can't go to the dining room there, right? And so I knew about that movement. And so I started looking into it. And it turns out that the Ice Cream Shop is the brainchild of a Unilever executive who created a project called Ice Cream Now, all based around the vision and the question of how could we deliver ice cream to people at home on Uber Eats or on Postmates or any of these things. And they realized that they don't have, physical locations for that, but there are tons of service stations, convenience stores, restaurants, local stores, places that have freezers, excess capacity in their freezer to set up a small inventory that they could keep stocked, and that they set up this whole network of these so that they could deliver these. You're never more than 5 minutes away from one of these outposts, so you can order ice cream on the website and have it delivered. And the Uber delivery guy is dispatched from the closest one. So you're never more than 5 minutes away. And that's kind of a really interesting thing,
Yeah, I've not heard of that. It's definitely unique.
Right. So now they're taking the vision of this guy. What can we do to sell ice cream, deliver ice cream to people? They've got the capability is there with Grubhub, with the tapping into these freezers that are in convenience stores, in grocery or service stations, locations, and then the reach of Uber Eats and Grubhub, and they've got it right there. They're native in the app. So now as people are going, they can scroll through and ice cream. Wow, yeah, I would love some ice cream right now. And it turns into hundreds of millions of dollars. Look it up online, just Unilever ice cream now. And it's a fascinating story,
I'll do that.
Mm-hmm. But that's the kind of thing. So, what's the what other questions did you have? Because I know this is a whole different philosophical direction, but I think it's a potential breakthrough for you.
Absolutely, the breakthrough is of whether it's the existing person that on Amazon or Etsy that's already selling well and they just need help expanding, or like you said, the existing influencer that we're basically taking into a market that they're not in. And I get the irresistible offer there. One thing, the only other thing I was going to ask you is, like with currently what we're doing, like the worst thing I see is I hate when somebody comes to us and they say something like they dropped some exorbitant amount of money on like a turnkey store or so like
right.
I would love to be able to reach people with some kind of offer before they go down that route and then come to us. For
right.
Currently what we do, what would you consider? If I was like, hey Dean, what would you consider an irresistible offer for what we do at this phase? And that may be a loaded question at the end, but I'm just curious.
Yeah. No, I think that when you look at it, that it's very similar. I ran a program with our money-making websites. Was we're gonna, you don't pay until you make your first sale, or until you've made so much money. That's a risk reversal as opposed to a risk reduction, which is what your focus of will give you your money back and this and $1,000. You're trying to make it so much more, but you're saying to them, go ahead and give us the money first. You're just trying to convince them to give you the money, where the zero friction would be, if you qualify, like when you've got to be selective of who you bring into a program like that you choose the rules for it. But if they meet these requirements, then there's no charge to get going. And, I always look at it that the big discovery that I had was that sometimes, and most times, it's less expensive to get somebody the result than it is to convince them to give you money to get the result. Like some of your $6,000 that you make has to be spent on convincing people to give you the $6,000, right? Your cost of acquisition is, I didn't ask you what that was, but it's got to be some amount of that 6,000, right?
Sure. So it's okay. So in that model, you just do a very intensive, like you mentioned, screening process on the front end.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And as you should be doing anyway, because,
sure.
But your screening, your screening thing is that they give you the money. You're screening for people who will give you $6,000. You're not screening for people who should be doing this, right? That maybe don't have the $6,000 right now, but could. I mean, there's probably a lot of people that are better candidates for you to be successful than the people who have the $6,000 without the right product or, personality or desire or whatever it is.
Sure. Yeah, and we definitely screen to ensure it's somebody that we want to work with. But I definitely see the difference in the other way. So that's something that I'm gonna take away from this. Yeah, no, lots to think about. I love that first idea, the VCR. That's my breakthrough on this team.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, what do you think is going to be your first action item here now, just to kind of put it all together?
Yeah, I think my first action will be to test some marketing going for a more single target market, and whether that's, making it specific to the Etsy or the Amazon sellers. The influencer thing I would need to think through a bit more. That's a bit more complex than somebody already having a product they're selling on another platform. But I think that would be my first action to test something like that. Secondly, maybe a small, as you may call it, pilot thing with the we'll work with you for free, and you pay when you get something like that.
Yeah, I think that's great. Even just thinking that way is going to open up a lot of possibilities for you.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate the insights. This was great.
I love it. That's great. Well, thanks for playing along. That went fast.
It did. Yeah. Thanks so much for all the insight, Dean. And I'll be keeping you posted, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks, Jeremy.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
And there we have it. Another great episode. Thanks for listening in. If you want to continue the conversation, we'll go deeper in how the 8 profit activators can apply to your business. 2 things you can do. Right now, you can go to morecheeselesswhiskers.com and you can download a copy of the More Cheese Less Whiskers book, and you can listen to the back episodes, of course, if you're just listening here on iTunes. Secondly, the thing that we talk about in applying all of the 8 profit activators are part of the breakthrough DNA process. And you can download a book and a scorecard and watch a video all about the 8 profit activators at breakthroughdna.com. And that's a great place to start the journey in applying this scientific approach to growing your business. That's really the way we think about Breakthrough DNA, as an operating system that you can overlay on your existing business and immediately look for insights there. So that's it for this week. Have a great week, and we will be back next time with another episode of More Cheese, Less Whiskers.